In the quiet town of Amboise, France, on a crisp morning in March 2025, a team of archaeologists gathered in the shadow of the Château d'Amboise, a grand castle that had once been home to kings and artists alike. The team, led by Dr. Claire Dubois, a renowned historian with a passion for the Renaissance, had been excavating the castle's lower chambers for months, searching for artifacts from the time of King Francis I, who had ruled France in the early 16th century. The castle, with its stone walls and winding corridors, held countless secrets, but none as profound as the one they were about to uncover. As the team sifted through a pile of debris in a forgotten storage room, one of the workers, a young man named Julian, unearthed a small rusted chest, its surface engraved with the faint outline of a fleur-de-lis, the symbol of French royalty. The chest was locked, its hinges brittle with age, but after careful work with a set of tools, Julian pried it open, revealing a bundle of papers wrapped in a piece of faded cloth. Dr. Dubois, her hands trembling with anticipation, carefully unwrapped the bundle, her breath catching as she saw the topmost sheet, a single page of parchment, its edges yellowed and brittle, covered in a familiar slanted handwriting. The script was unmistakable, a style she had studied for years, the mirror writing of Leonardo da Vinci, the genius of the Renaissance, who had spent his final years in Amboise under the patronage of Francis I. The letter was dated May 1st, 1519, just a day before Leonardo's death, and its contents promised to reveal a secret he had kept hidden for decades. As the team gathered around, their faces alight with excitement, Dr. Dubois began to read, her voice steady but filled with awe, as the words of a man long gone came to life, pulling them back to a time when the world was on the cusp of change. The letter began with a simple greeting. To whoever finds this, I, Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci, leave these words as my final confession, a truth I have carried in my heart for too long. The words were written in Italian, with the characteristic backward script that Leonardo used to protect his thoughts from prying eyes. But Dr. Dubois, fluent in the language and familiar with his methods, translated them with ease. As she read, the scene shifted, the dusty chambers of the Château d'Amboise fading away, replaced by the warm glow of a candlelit room in the same castle, 500 years earlier, in the spring of 1516. Leonardo da Vinci, now 64 years old, sat at a wooden desk, his long white hair falling over his shoulders, his face lined with the wisdom and weariness of a life spent chasing the impossible. His hands, once steady and sure, now trembled slightly as he dipped a quill into a pot of ink, his dark eyes fixed on a canvas that stood on an easel nearby, the Mona Lisa, a portrait he had begun 13 years earlier and carried with him through every journey, a work he could not bring himself to finish. Leonardo's room in the Château du Clos Lucé, a small manor granted to him by Francis I, was a sanctuary of creativity, its walls lined with sketches of flying machines, anatomical studies, and maps of the stars. The air was thick with the scent of oil paint and parchment, the only sound the soft crackle of the fire in the hearth and the occasional chirp of a night bird outside the window. Leonardo's simple robe, a deep blue faded with age, hung loosely on his frail frame, but his eyes still burned with the same intensity that had driven him to create masterpieces like The Last Supper and The Vitruvian Man. He set the quill to the parchment, his hand moving with a deliberate slowness as he began to write, his words a confession meant for a future he would never see. "I have lived a life of wonder and struggle," he wrote, his script flowing in reverse, a habit born of a desire for secrecy. "I have seen the beauty of the world and the darkness of men's hearts, and through it all I have sought to capture truth in my art. But there is one truth I have never shared, a secret that weighs heavy on my soul as I near the end of my days. It is the truth of the lady with the smile, the one you call Mona Lisa, a name that has followed her through the years, though I never gave her such a title. She is more than a portrait, more than a commission for a merchant's wife. She is a memory, a dream, a hope I have carried since my youth, a hope for peace in a world torn by war." As Leonardo wrote, his mind drifted back to the year 1478, when he was a young man of 26, living in Florence under the patronage of Lorenzo de' Medici. It was a time of turmoil, with the Pazzi conspiracy threatening the Medici rule and the city teetering on the edge of chaos. Amid the violence and intrigue, Leonardo had met a woman named Isabella, a seamstress who worked in the Medici household, her beauty matched only by her kindness. Isabella, with her dark hair and gentle smile, had captured Leonardo's heart, a rare and fleeting love in a life devoted to art and science. They would meet in secret, walking through the gardens of the Palazzo Medici, their conversations filled with dreams of a better world, a world without war, where beauty and knowledge could flourish. But their love was not to be. Isabella fell ill during an outbreak of plague that swept through Florence, and within weeks she was gone, leaving Leonardo with a grief he could not express in words. The memory of Isabella had stayed with Leonardo through the years, her smile haunting his dreams, her laughter echoing in his mind. When he began the Mona Lisa in 1503, commissioned by Francesco del Giocondo, a wealthy Florentine merchant, to paint a portrait of his wife, Lisa Gherardini, Leonardo saw an opportunity to immortalize the woman he had lost. He painted Lisa, but he poured Isabella into her features, the gentle curve of her lips, the knowing look in her eyes, the way her hands rested in her lap, as if holding a secret only he could understand. The background, a misty landscape of winding paths and distant hills, was a reflection of the journeys he and Isabella had dreamed of taking together, a world beyond the wars that plagued their time. And in her smile, Leonardo hid his greatest hope, a vision of peace, a world where love and beauty could triumph over hatred and destruction. But as the years passed, Leonardo found himself unable to part with the painting, despite Francesco del Giocondo's growing impatience. He carried the Mona Lisa with him from Florence to Milan and eventually to France, where he settled in Amboise under the patronage of Francis I. The young king, a lover of art and a man of boundless ambition, had taken a particular interest in the portrait, often visiting Leonardo's workshop to admire its progress. Francis, with his golden hair and regal bearing, dressed in a velvet doublet embroidered with silver thread, was a stark contrast to Leonardo's humble presence, but the two men shared a mutual respect, their conversations filled with discussions of art, science, and the future of the world. On one such visit, in the spring of 1516, Francis arrived at Leonardo's workshop unannounced, his entourage of courtiers trailing behind him, their silk cloaks shimmering in the candlelight. The king's eyes lit up as he saw the Mona Lisa on its easel, its surface still wet with fresh paint, the woman's smile seeming to glow in the dim light. "Leonardo," Francis said, his voice warm but firm. "This painting is a marvel, a treasure that belongs in the halls of my court. Why do you delay its completion? I would have it for my collection, a symbol of France's glory." Leonardo bowed his head, his expression serene, but tinged with a quiet sadness. "My lord," he replied, his voice soft, "this painting is not yet ready. It holds a truth I am not yet prepared to share, a truth that must wait for the right time." Francis frowned, his impatience evident, but he respected Leonardo too much to press further. "Very well," he said, his tone softening, "but I hope that time comes soon. The world deserves to see this masterpiece." The king and his courtiers departed, leaving Leonardo alone with his thoughts, the weight of his secret pressing down on him like a stone. He knew he could not keep the painting forever, but he also knew he could not let it go. Not yet, not while the wounds of his past still lingered, not while the world remained a place of war and strife. And so he continued to work on the Mona Lisa, adding layer after layer, each stroke a prayer for the peace he longed to see. 3 years later, on the eve of his death, Leonardo sat at his desk, the Mona Lisa still by his side, its smile unchanged, its secrets still hidden. He knew his time was near, his body weakened by age and illness, but his mind remained sharp, his heart still heavy with the truth he had never shared, and so he wrote the letter, pouring his soul onto the parchment, his words a confession meant for a future he would never know. "I have kept this painting close," he wrote, "not because I could not finish it, but because I could not bear to let her go. She is Isabella, the love I lost, the dream I held, the peace I sought. Her smile is my hope for a world where beauty triumphs over war, where love outlives loss. I leave her to you, whoever you are, to carry this hope forward." As Leonardo finished the letter, he sealed it with a drop of wax, his trembling hands folding the parchment and placing it in the small chest where he kept his most precious sketches. He hid the chest in a corner of his workshop, knowing it would be found one day when the world was ready to hear his truth. The next day, May 2nd, 1519, Leonardo da Vinci passed away, his final breath a whisper of peace, the Mona Lisa still by his side, her smile a silent testament to the love and hope he had carried through the years. "Back in 2025, Doctor." Dubois finished reading the letter, her voice breaking as she reached the final words, the team around her silent with awe. The discovery of the letter sent shock waves through the world, its contents published in every major newspaper, its words shared across social media as people marveled at the revelation of Leonardo's secret. The Mona Lisa, now housed in the Louvre, took on a new meaning, her smile no longer just a mystery, but a message of love and peace, a message that had waited 500 years to be heard. Scholars and historians debated the identity of Isabella, searching for records of the seamstress who had captured Leonardo's heart, while others saw the letter as a testament to the power of art to transcend time, to carry a message from one generation to the next. The letter itself was placed in a museum in Amboise, displayed alongside a replica of the Mona Lisa, its words a reminder of the man behind the masterpiece, a man whose genius was matched only by his heart. And as people from around the world came to see it, to read the confession of a man who had changed the course of history, they were reminded of a simple truth. True art is not just a creation, but a reflection of the soul, a vessel for the hopes and dreams of those who create it. So, the next time you look at the Mona Lisa, remember Leonardo's secret, and let her smile inspire you to seek peace in a world that so often forgets its meaning. If this story touched your heart, we have many more tales of Leonardo's brilliance, compassion, and genius waiting for you. Click the screen to explore and subscribe for daily stories that remind us of the power of art to change lives.